Bonjour et bienvenue au travail de comptabilité. Pouvez-vous confirmer votre lettre d'équipe, s'il vous plaît?
C'est H.
Est-ce que vous préférez la lecture des règlements en français ou en anglais?
En anglais.
For this case, you'll have 20 minutes to make your presentation in front of the judges. If your presentation lasts under 18 minutes, you'll receive a 1-point penalty for every 30 seconds. If your presentation lasts under 10 minutes, your team will receive the score of 0 at the general ranking for this case. If after 20 minutes you have not completed the presentation, you will be stopped to move on to the period of questions. At the end of the presentation, the judges will have 5 minutes to ask their questions. I remind the jury that it is mandatory to ask a minimum of 1 question during this period. If after 5 minutes you have not finished answering the question, you will be stopped. Throughout the presentation, I will indicate the remaining time using cardboards at 10 minutes, 5 minutes, 2 minutes, and 30 seconds. I will make a countdown using my fingers for the last 10 seconds. I remind you that it is prohibited to say the name of your university, and if you do so, you will receive a penalty. I also remind the public that it is prohibited to use any electronic devices during the presentation, and that we must stay quiet until the end of the period of questions. Before we begin, I'm asking the room to turn off their cell phone and put them on mute so that we don't interrupt the presentation. I will now ask the judges to present themselves, and after you will be free to start your presentation.
Hi, Gabriel Lamondon from PricewaterhouseCoopers, Manager in Audit.
Bonjour, Joëlle Claude, directrice en certification chez Raymond Chabot Grant Thornton.
Hi, Henderson from PricewaterhouseCoopers, Manager in Audit.
Hi, Sophie, Campus Talent Acquisition Manager at JDC.
Hi, Lucy, Finance Manager at L'Oréal.
Dave Saint-Cal, Assistant Controller at the Farms.
Julie Clich, chargée de cours au département des sciences comptables à HSMR.
So just like riding through a skate park, there's many ups, there's many downs, you might do a flip, you might fall down. Just like that, in business, there's also many ups and many downs. So some projects could be a huge success and be a huge up, just as well as they could be a huge failure and a huge down. Today, we're here today to evaluate your projects, give you a recommendation on those projects to assure that all your ups happen and that no downs happen.
Bon après-midi, merci de nous inviter à la réunion annuelle. Je m'appelle Yvonne et je suis ici avec mes collègues de Aya Consultants Inc., André et Amy. Nous sommes ici pour évaluer les différentes options que vous avez soulevées durant la réunion et aussi faire une analyse d'alignement de stratégie pour vous donner de bons conseils. To start, we will be doing the executive compensation that as you requested, and then we will address the acquisition of the supplier. Then we'll be address the BMX opportunity, then the park acquisition, and we'll be addressing the other issues lastly. So your mission at JDC Inc. is to offer scooter and skateboard lessons focused on the need of the customer in safe and professional environment. So we will base our analysis on this mission to better serve your customers. So we'll then pass to André to address the executive compensation.
Great, thank you. So one of your main employees here has expressed a concern that he would like to receive a certain profit of the organization. So he's not currently happy with his salary. He would like to see more reward for his efforts. So obviously if the company is performing better, he truly believes that it's really attributable to him. So obviously, just like me or you, he wants to see results. He wants to see profit from his efforts. So we've established three possible options in order to compensate him in a way that would be based on the company's performance. So first and foremost is stock options. So stock options have become very popular lately, especially with the rise of technological companies, with a lot of startups offering stock options to employees. Based on the KPI, which we'll go over after, that he can buy a certain amount of shares depending on the performance of the company year over year. There could be different vesting periods based on the agreement that's reached with the employee. The third option, a little bit more creative, is through the use of employee trust. So this is a newer concept that we've seen in this industry, where a trust is actually established, and the trust, you yourself will be the trustee, so you would still maintain control on any shares that would be issued through the trust, and bonuses or dividends would be paid through the trust to the employee, and this allows the employee to get these funds in a more tax efficient manner. Because going over at a high level, I'm not going to go too deep into tax here, but if the trust is deemed to own a certain percentage, so 10% of the company, any dividends paid through the trust to a company set up for the employee would be tax-free on a general basis. So that would be a way to achieve this on a tax-efficient manner, which obviously the employee would appreciate. So what we do recommend, however, is to establish a stock option plan with the employee. So this would start off by getting into discussion, what exactly he wants, and setting up the KPIs, the key performance indicators that are required that will determine the number of stock options that the employee will get. So to determine the key performance indicators, I'll pass it on to Yvonne again to talk a little bit about this new concept of the management dashboard.
For management dashboard, we decided to suggest you to focus on the long-term and short-term objectives set to Jason at the beginning of the year, and then we'll evaluate every quarter or every year if he has achieved those objectives. This also applies for other recruiters and also other employees in the firm. So we also recommend that to establish financial and non-financial measures, such as we noticed that JI has a very low retention of the sales clerk employees. That I would suggest you to establish an employee satisfaction survey to find out the reason why the sales clerk do not stay more than 3 months in the firm. This will heavily negatively impact the performance of the firm in long term. The other non-financial measure, such as customer satisfaction survey, could be issued to the clients as well to understand what's their needs from the lesson taken, and also how are they benefiting from the lesson that JI is offering. Now I will pass to Amy to talk about the acquisition opportunity.
So you have the opportunity to acquire a supplier as he wishes to allow you to benefit from future performance from his company. The management is willing to stay on board, and that is one of the things that you are looking for. And that's why we believe that there will be some synergies to be acquired from the acquisition of Invictus. And also, JI will be able to achieve economies of scale. So what we did, the price for Invictus right now is at $1.5 million. However, we have said that it is overpriced, potentially. So we have recalculated based on normalized earnings. Their profitability after tax at multiple of 4 brings the price to actually $1,808,000, which is much less than they had previously suggested. This is because currently their figure of $1.5 million was derived from not including a director's salary, as the owner does not pay himself, nor does his wife have a salary as well. This would have to be taken into consideration if you were to acquire Invictus, as you would need a director to run the company, as you are obviously too busy to take care of it, and a new secretary as well. We were not given a figure for a secretary's salary, so we just made an assumption that it would be at $15,000 annually. And because their income statement was based off of was made for tax purposes, we had to add back their depreciation, which is their CCA, and we calculated their accounting depreciation with their building, their equipment, and the trucks. That would total about $56,000 on a normal year, and we have figured out that there's 3 years that will require capital investment in the building, the equipment, and the trucks in years 7 and 10 and year 20 separately. That's because their life will end by then. We have also included a repayment of the loan. There's two funding potentials that you have. You could get cash from allowing more investors into your management team, but that is obviously not what you would like, because that would dilute the decision-making process and go against your mission in case it ever changes. So going with the bank loan would be the best option here, and we have also determined that this would be the best thing to do. So that is because you need the debt covenants you meet the debt covenants currently for up to a 1.4 million loan. However, the price that you meet is only $1 million. So you do not need to borrow up to that capacity. We have determined that the net present value of this investment is $565,000. As it is positive, this would be a very good investment to take part of. So we do recommend acquiring Invictus. Now, back on the debt covenants, you currently have a working capital ratio of 5.5, and the industry is at 2. So that puts your company at a very good position in respect to the industry. And with the acquisition of Invictus, your new working capital ratio will be 3.25, and that still meets the debt covenant for the bank loan of $1 million that you would like to have. The second debt covenant is the debt to asset ratio. Currently, it sits at 33%, and whereas the industry sits at 59%. This means that your company is performing very well in comparison with the industry. And with the new acquisition, the new debt would put you at 43% debt to asset ratio, which means that both the covenants are met. And now I will have André discuss the economies of scale.
Thank you. Thank you, Amy. So thank you for the debt covenants, and that was based on some last minute information that we received, so it might be a little bit different on your paper. A couple other issues that should be considered is first off the economies of scale. So right now you buy scooters from the company you're looking to acquire. Obviously they charge a markup, they need to make a profit on it. We calculated that by buying the company, you'll be able to get those scooters at cost because you'll be essentially producing them yourself on top of selling it to other customers. So based on what you purchased from them last year, which is 910 scooters, there's a possible saving of $33,000. So essentially, $33,000 is the amount of money that the company made off you by you buying their scooters last year. So that's something that definitely needs to be considered and something that we did consider in our financial analysis. Next is a few qualitative analysis. So obviously you've never done an acquisition. It can be very complicated. There can be many issues at play. So starting off with the renegotiating of the price based on the adjustment. So there could be many ways to approach this, but we have found a decent argument to go to them and say, look, you're not paying yourself a salary. Obviously your income is overstated, so we're not willing to give you 4 times the current net revenue because there's certain adjustments that need to be made before we can make that calculation. Next is that you're not currently in the industry. So you're in the industry of providing services, providing training and courses to kids for scooters and skateboarding. That's not at all in line with selling scooters at a manufacturer's level. So that's something that you need to keep in mind, and you're definitely going to need some consultation with some expert in the industry. But luckily, the owner is willing to stay on for a little bit. Advantages of proper tax planning, that's another thing that's very highly regarded when negotiating during M&A. So with certain tax planning, with this deal, we believe that they'll actually be able to get the money tax-free based on the lifetime capital gains exemption. I won't go into more detail, but that's something that we can consult with you further, or consult with them if you do choose to go forward with the acquisition. Next is an earn-out agreement. So since management is staying on, to get them to stay on board, an earn-out agreement essentially forces them to stay on board, and they only get a certain portion of the acquisition price once certain targets are met. So you won't pay them a certain portion until they stay on and make sure that the targets are met. Establishing the proper deal team, so making sure you have the proper advisors, lawyers, tax planners, and accountants, of course. And finally, the sources of financing we believe that you have with the bank loan. So once again, we do recommend to purchase Invictus and go forward with the acquisition. I'll now pass it on to Yvonne to talk about the next opportunity.
Thank you. You have requested us to address the PMX opportunity. So we have considered areas of suggestions that you need more research and consideration before you proceed this opportunity. First one will be security. This course, JI is only offering a maximum of 2 courses at the same time. And also BMX is very popular sport among 12 to 18 years old. They are all minor, so there may have some legal issues to be considered, and also the waiver to be signed. Security problem with the new service. Currently, JI is short of staff. How the security of those minors will be assured, this is a real to consider. And also because it's an extreme sport, potential insurance costs could be occurred. Will be a lack of experience and lack of staff within JI, which is no former experience managing the lessons, very niche market to find instructors, as you have mentioned that you currently don't know any instructors on the market to be teaching those lessons. And JI will be need a lesson coordinator, potentially with a scheduling issue. With the new lessons will be offered, it's in a new market with few competitors, so this is an opportunity to offer this service. However, there is a limited suppliers who will be addressed later that you have found only 2 qualifying for the needs. So that could be a potential economic dependence and a certainty about the popularity of the service because the target market has a quick change of the interest. So for the basic information and variable cost, we have determined that the salary of the extra instructor will be variable cost and will be shared among 240 students. We have performed a NPV analysis, which will be suggesting that supplier A has a positive NPV, which of $6,000. And compared to the supplier B, supplier A definitely has a higher NPV according to the 10% of the return on investment you have requested. And from the qualitative aspect, Cyclo Hood is based in Quebec and it's in business for decades and it's material for the resistance and has a 1-year warranty. Even though it has a shorter life cycle for the product, with the rapidly changing industry, we still do recommend to go with supplier A. So now I'll pass back to A to address the park opportunity.
Thank you. So once again, another great opportunity. The City of Montreal has approached you and wants to do sort of a partnership. You do a piece of land, you can build a beautiful park that you can use to profit from. So from a very high level, the initial cost of actually building the park is around $1.1 million. So obviously still a big investment even though you don't need to build the land. With yearly costs of approximately $20,000. So those are costs such as the maintenance fee, the salary for the person that's going to need to be there for the free times for the 20 hours a week. And that should generate a revenue of around $128,000. So that's the revenue generated from the additional classes of skateboarding and scootering, plus obviously the cost of those classes, which is the instructor cost of $25 per session. So with these numbers, it will give you a return on investment of approximately 10%, which is just at your threshold. However, we don't have the information on how long this park will last, so we didn't consider amortization, which is why we're going to recommend to not do this project right away, depending on certain qualitative factors that I'll go over quickly. So the useful life of the park, such as I mentioned, there's, however, an opportunity to turn this into a seasonal dome. So currently the way it's set up, it can only be used in the summertime for 6 months, but I'm sure there's certain domes out there that can be put on the skate park for the other 6 months of the year. So with the demand that you're having for your classes, you could give those extra classes from a year-round basis with this dome. Grant eminence, as you mentioned, so obviously very good for the community. The additional administrative tasks, so Jason is currently already strapped with everything that's going on with managing the bookings. This would obviously add on certain tasks for him. And the opportunity to have competition. So you yourself, Tony, have been to many competition, you've been in the industry for a while, so I was sure you would possibly like to have your own competition at your own skate park. This would open up additional space to host these competitions. So for the reasons mentioned in the financials, since it's just about your ROI metric, maybe this isn't the right project for right now, but it still has great opportunity, and with further discussions with the City of Montreal, maybe you can make it work on the numbers, but for now, we don't think it's a great project. So in terms of other issues, so the accounting of the lawsuits, from discussions with legal counsel, it's being discussed that it will probably lose the lawsuit and have to pay. So the proper accounting standard for that means that you'll actually have to report it as a liability. So we'll have to estimate the cost of that. In terms of governance issues, so governance issues is really the fact that you don't meet, we don't think you meet enough during the year, so you only meet once a year, and that can cause certain friction, certain decisions being made without others being aware, such as the Chinese where the decision was made without real discussion. If you would have met a few more times during the year, maybe that wouldn't have occurred. So in terms of the conclusion, so we believe today we took every opportunity, assessed it from a detailed perspective, and provided a conclusion. So in terms of the executive compensation, we recommend a stock option plan based on key metrics. In terms of the acquisition of Invectus, we recommend to go forward with the acquisition and start the process as fast as possible. The BMX opportunity, another great opportunity that we recommend to go forward with and go with supplier A as they offer the best time and the outdoor skating park. So we hope that
That's it.
We're open to questions. En français, ou en anglais, mais si on est confortable en français, on peut répondre en anglais.
In terms of timeline and implementation plan, you suggested a few options, so what would be like how would you prioritize it? Because there's, I guess, not enough people in the team.
Yeah, so in terms of prioritization, so there's the industry out there is changing very rapidly, so a certain sport can be very popular one minute, such as BMX as it's a hot topic right now, everyone wants to do it. So we would definitely recommend going forward with the BMX, given that there's no major upfront cost. It's just in terms of finding someone to give the course, but there's no major cost, so we recommend going forward with that. And in terms of the purchase of the company, M&As are something that can drag out for a long time, and it's an opportunity that's here today, but it could not be there tomorrow. So we would recommend going forward very quickly with that also. We know that the resources might be a little scarce and you don't have necessarily the staff. So for that reason, you have to look at risk mitigation, making sure you're not going into something that's set up for failure. But we believe that the MX project is something that you can go forward right now and make it work without too much efforts or cost.
We definitely recommend you to start with the BMX opportunity since actually I need to invest before the popularity of the sport fade away because the information given about the teenagers, their change of interest is very quick, and also with the price that JI is willing to charge, it's very considerable according to other sports. Any other questions?
From the skate park, I believe there was some issues regarding the visitor costs. Could you elaborate on that? Oh, you account for that?
Sorry for that's the outdoor skate park that you mean?
Yeah.
So the accounting issues in terms of accounting for the initial cost, that's right. So the initial cost, we believe that you wanted to capitalize everything at all the costs. Obviously that's not going to be possible. So certain assets, such as the park itself, as it's going to have a useful life over many, many years that we can determine, that can be capitalized and amortized over certain years. But other things, such as yearly cost, as maintenance cost, for example, the $200 per month, that cannot be capitalized because that's just a running expense. It's not something that you're going to benefit over for many years.
We recommended that we move ahead and acquire the Invectus company, but this is contingent on finding proper financing. Can you please provide us with some guidance or details on which financing, what are the options that we have?
As I mentioned earlier, that there was two options, that you could have cash flow through investors investing in your company, which was not an ideal plan because you did not want to lose sight of your mission, you did not want to increase the amount of time management decisions could be taken or even the direction the company could take. You were also offered a bank loan. So that would be the best option. That is the option that we have taken into consideration with our calculations. And it they have given you a leeway of $1.4 million and at an interest rate of 6.9% over 20 years of repayment. And that is the best case scenario. That is the most, they had 2 debt covenants that you met before and after the acquisition, and everything about this was just a perfect scenario. So I would recommend going with bank loan.
Au niveau du tableau de bord, vous avez mentionné mettre des éléments financiers, non financiers. Vous avez donné des exemples de non financiers, mais est-ce que vous avez des exemples d'éléments financiers?
Retour à investissement, ça c'est vraiment le plus important qu'on va mettre sur le dashboard. Puis aussi, l'autre que nous allons recommander, c'est un target de sales. Si c'est arrivé à la fin du mois ou à la fin de l'année.
Small questions in terms of the compensation fees. So now we're suggesting stock options. That for us can require adding fees. More time for us. They're just giving them a bonus, let's say, $20,000 at the end of the year.
Yeah, you could. So there's nothing stopping you. You own the company, you decide what you want to pay in. From a tax perspective, that's not necessarily the most efficient way. So if you want to achieve $10,000 in his pocket net of tax, yes, maybe you'll have all those administrative fees, but the way stock options work is that if they're from a Canadian private corporation such as yourself,
That's
you'll receive certain tax advantages.
And